Okay, I just had to jump out of the sauna to share this. I had a sip of water. I drank water and it went down the wrong way, and there's not much that makes you feel quite as silly as that. But, okay, I have this friend, and she experiences the world very differently to me. She sees life through a different lens. And I've had this experience where several times when I'm sharing a story that doesn't feel negative to me, she responds as though it's negative news. And I assume what is happening is she's putting herself in my shoes and thinking that she would not like that. And in her effort to create closeness to me and to make me feel understood and seen and validated, she projects this like, oh my gosh, that sounds horrible. Oh, I'm so sorry you had to do that. Oh. And a lot of these noises, this sympathy. But in my experience, I don't feel that I need sympathy, and actually I don't want sympathy. I do not want pity. Pity does not feel good for me to be on the receiving end of. I get very triggered. I'm like, oh no. Like I'm not a victim. It wasn't that like and so my practice is, okay, that is not true for me. That doesn't belong to me. That's a projection. That's not my truth. And there have been, it's happened on several occasions, and I've questioned, do I let her know? Like, do I tell her and have an upfront conversation and say that actually I get really triggered, and I would take ownership, not you trigger me. I get triggered. I get triggered when this happens. And I know that my practice is not to. She would be open to it, and we could have that discussion, and maybe that will come, but I know that I would be missing out on my growth if I did that, because the story I'm telling myself is that she's in a projection, it's untrue, and I could educate her, and I could, in my mind, bring her up to speed and enlighten her to the fact that she's making a projection. There's like a spiritual hierarchy in that. And what that is actually is me playing the victim and me correcting her for doing wrong. So in that instance where I want to let her know, I'm making her wrong. And when I'm making her wrong, I'm making myself right. And what that means is it's very convenient for me to say, oh, she's in a projection. She's doing this thing that makes me feel really uncomfortable. And I could let her know, because then I don't have to experience the discomfort. And she can learn something. She might be making other people feel uncomfortable too. She might be making herself feel uncomfortable too when she sees the world through that lens and she's seeing things as happening to her, not for her. Whereas I'm seeing things as an adventure. And I'm like, oh, this was unexpected. Cool. What am I here to learn from that? I want to get closer to it. I'm like, oh, give me some of that. Or sometimes when things, are brutal, I'm like, I know that I asked for this. Let me take it on board. Let me bring it in closer, even if it's pungent. That's the way I navigate the world. That's my identity piece as well. So it would be very convenient for me to assess this trigger and be like, well, I can let her know, I can inform her, and then she won't trigger me again. Like, she can, if I can say, hey, do do you mind next time, like if I'm sharing, like maybe you can have some awareness that I don't like it when you respond with that sympathy, with that dropped, collapsed shoulders, or oh, or you know, these noises that are associated with sympathy, or you know, words that are like, that sounds so horrible, I'm so sorry that happened to you. You know, I could come from that place and I could find a very vulnerable way to articulate it and be like, hey, would you mind, like I actually get really triggered by that, and that doesn't feel good for me, that's not helpful. But what I'm doing in that scenario is I am blaming her for my discomfort, and then I don't have to do any of the work. I don't have to do the work to be able to move through that discomfort, or actually it doesn't have to stick to me. The fact that it triggers me tells me that if I've got a problem, it's my problem. It's my problem to deal with, and it's my responsibility to deal with. It's not on her to change. I can't wait for the world to change so I can be happy. When I do that, I'm handing over my power. Oh, if you're going to do that, then I get upset and I get triggered. So can you not do that anymore, and then I can be happy? That would be very convenient, sure. But I would be doing myself a huge disservice by blaming her, by making her wrong, because what it means is that I don't have to do the work. What it means is I get to see myself as being right, as being, you know, having no work to do. Not only do I not have to do the work, I'm creating a story in my mind where there's no need for me to do any work because I'm right. And I get to stay in my comfort zone, and I get to stay in this small space. And I've told myself that where that is great. I don't need to change. I don't need to do anything. They need to change. I get to stay right here. I don't have to expand. I don't have to become bigger. I don't have to become greater. Right? What can happen? Yes, I could tell her, I could have a conversation, and I could hand over the responsibility to her to change so that I can be happy. Good luck. Like, immediately handing away my power. Or I could take responsibility. Responsibility is my ability to respond. The response in the situation is, oh, I'm triggered. I'm triggered. I have the awareness that I'm triggered. Why am I triggered? Because this is happening. I don't like how that feels. Great. What is my responsibility in that moment? My responsibility is not to change her. My responsibility is not to change that situation. My responsibility is to recognize, is to have an internal response. My ability to have a response to that. The response is, this doesn't feel good. What do I do with that information? I recognize that I don't like the way that feels. Therefore, in my interactions, I will not project a story of victimhood. I will not project a story of disempowerment or powerlessness onto anybody, because in my lived embodied experience, that doesn't feel good, and therefore I know that that's not the way that I want to approach others. That's not the way that I want to treat others. That's my responsibility. My responsibility is to learn from that how I want to operate in the world, not tell other people how they need to operate in the world. I also get to realize that, yeah, I don't like a story of victimhood for myself. It doesn't feel good for myself. I'm not going to project a story of victimhood on myself, and I'm not going to project a story of victimhood onto other people. That's where my responsibility ends. My responsibility is not to then project my learning onto someone else, unless I'm invited to, unless people look at me and they say, hey, I see you moving through the world in a different way. Tell me your secrets. I want to learn from you. If someone is a student of mine, if I'm in that teacher role, but I'm not in that teacher, that's not my, who am I to like assume a teacher role for people in ordinary everyday life. No. My responsibility is to take that awareness and filter it through my life, not tell other people that they need to filter it through theirs. That's not my job. It's none of my business unless I am invited. And I would be projecting a story of victimhood onto myself if I did that. I would be blaming her for my discomfort. Every time you do that, I get triggered. Every time you do that, it brings me down. Every time you do that, my vibe crashes. Take your power back then. Take your power back then, honey. It didn't need to touch you. Why does it touch you? Why does it touch me? That's my work to do. If I'm the one with a problem, it's my problem to solve. If I'm the one that's getting triggered, it's my trigger to work with. It's my trigger to deal with. And that's like the discomfort of like, oh, I really want to tell her. Like, I really want to tell her, but I know that I would be doing myself such a disservice if I just passed the responsibility onto her. And that is not what I'm here for. It's not what I'm here for. Oh, wait. Yeah, there was this other piece, and maybe I touched on it, but it's like this concept that not only am I saying that like it would be more easeful if I didn't have to do the inner work on myself, you know, to move through that trigger, but convincing myself that I don't need to, allowing me to stay small because that's what I know, that's what's comfortable, that's my safe space, that's my comfort zone, instead of me, like when I say I would be doing myself a disservice because I would be staying small, staying in that space where I don't need to do the work to move through it and to grow and to expand my capacity to hold more. Because don't I want to be that woman that in that instance when she, you know, if she projects that onto me, I'm like, okay. Oh, I see it very differently. Cool. I see it very differently. But when she makes that projection and it touches me, like it reaches something in me, what it means is that there's a part of me that's believing that. Or there's a part of me that doesn't truly see myself as capable of holding that other field, of holding empowerment. You know, it's like, please don't blow on my house of cards. Like, please don't bring that over here because my house of cards is not very strong and it's all going to crash, right? So what that's showing me is like that I'm still running a story of victimhood sometimes. I'm still running a story of disempowerment sometimes. I'm still running that, right? And yes, I am, because it's being revealed to me in that very moment where I make myself the victim to her projection, right? So it's showing me where I am like still am not boundaried in my belief systems. I'm not boundaried in my identity, where my house is not built of bricks, where I have not got my fort locked down, where I am open to be penetrated, where I am open to wobble, where I am open to the influence of others, where I'm like trying to, la 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 la, please don't say that, please don't say that, please don't say that. I can't hear it because it might reach me. Because there's a part of me that it might touch, that it might activate. I'm not ready to sit in the discomfort that might be true, that I might be carrying that story. I'm like, no, I don't want that. And in that moment, I'm in a rejection, right? It's not unconditional love. It's not unconditional living. It's not like, that's a part of me too. I guess that's a part of me too. Bring her on board. I'm like trying to like, I'm in a state of fear. I'm in a state of rejection to the moment, to life, to what's going on, where I'm like, I'm triggered. Get away. Whereas what I want to be able to do is to invite all of life. Okay, what next? Yes, and. Okay, cool, she's seeing it like that. Cool, doesn't have to derail me. right? So we make this journey in our awakening where first we become aware of it, right? And first we're like, we feel the sensitivity. We feel the like ick of like, oh, that touched me. Oh, I don't like it. And the next elevation of it, the next evolution, the next period of growth is to recognize, I don't like that, and it's touching me. Like, I'm touched by that. It's penetrated me. There's a charge behind it. It's activating me. My inner response is violent. There's a violence in me. There's a destabilization within me. Again, this is my responsibility, right? And it would be very, very convenient to blame the other person for my destabilization. But it's actually just showing me where my boundaries are not as strong as they get to be. Where I've built my life on unsteady foundations. And don't I want to build my life on really firm, rock solid, deep foundations? So that no matter what happens to me in life, no matter what comes to me, I'm good. I'm steady. Because I do the inner work. Because I take responsibility for myself. Because I empower myself to hold myself accountable for where I have handed my power away, where I have created a story of blame, lack, victimhood, where I am not whole, where I am depleted, because I am dependent on other people to act a certain way in order for me to feel safe, happy, whatever it is. Like, this is the journey of like true sovereignty and empowerment, taking full ownership of ourselves and like being in love with life. In love. When you're in a state of love, you're in a state of openness. You're in a state of like magnetism and moving forward. When you're loving something, you're moving towards it. When you're loving something, you want to get closer. If you want to be in love with life, it means you want to keep bringing it closer. Yes, and more, and give me more. Where is this leading me? Oh, I didn't expect that. Cool. Let me see where it might be leading me. I have to be in a state of trust to want to get closer to something. When I'm in fear, I want to separate myself. I don't like this, take it away from me. I don't like this, cut it off. I don't like this, how do I make myself separate to it? How do I get far away from it? I don't want to live my life like that. I don't want to live my life running away from my problems. Saying, I want to be able to get up close. Cool. Wow. How incredible that this friend is revealing this to me. Oh, God, what a teacher she is for me. Oh, this is juicy. This is like, oh, it's so uncomfortable for me. And I'm here for it because I'm here to grow. Because that's my identity. Because that's who I like to be. Because this is how I like to live my life. Because I take responsibility for my joy, for my pleasure, for my romanticism with life. I want to be in love with life. I want to be open. I want to say yes and. It's like, if you're learning acting, if you ever studied drama in school or anything, there's a game that they play with improvisation called Yes and, where, you're acting a scene and you're creating it on the spot, you're improvising it. If someone says, oh, it's raining. You can't say, no, it's not raining. Wait, no. No, you have to play along. You have to move with it. You go, it's raining. Oh, and look, there's a rainbow. You have to say yes, and you have to take that invitation. You have to take that data and build on it instead of trying to destroy it, instead of trying to make it wrong, instead of trying to separate from it. So in the game of life, if you want to create an engaging scene, story, if you want to write a story, a good story, you've got to learn to improvise. You've got to learn to take what you've got and make gold with it. Build on it. Move towards it. Get close to it. Romanticize it. How is this working for me? How do I take this invitation and make magic with it? How do I get closer to it, to utilize it, to bring it into my field, and to create from that space, and to elevate and expand and become more of myself and make life bigger, rather than receiving this invitation and being destabilized by it, wanting to get away from it, curling up in a ball, you know, like, how can this happen to me, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that doesn't feel good. Babe, that doesn't feel good. I could do that. I could live my life that way. And you know what? I lived my life that way for years. And I always felt like I was the sensitive one, and people are so insensitive, and how can they do that? I was constantly in a state of victimhood and blame. And I had to realize that I was the problem. Because I saw the way people responded to things, and I would be like, how can they just bounce back like that? How can they just take everything in their stride? And I was like, she's so lucky. She's so lucky that she does that. And I realized she actually in many ways had a harder upbringing than I did. She just responds to things differently than I do. Life is not easier for her. She just has a different relationship to life. And for a while, I started role-playing. I'd be in a scenario, I'd be in a situation, and I would role-play. I'd press pause, and I would say, okay, I know how I'm about to respond. I know how, like, everything in me wants to arc up and feel this way. How would she respond? This is my cousin. I would be like, how would she respond? And I was like, she would laugh it off. Oh my gosh, how can she do that? That is so hard for me to do. And I couldn't do it straight away. It took many years of practicing to build that muscle to respond in a different way. But first I had to become aware of it. I had to become aware of, like, my responsibility, my ability to respond. You guys are great. Fuck. I just, like, come full circle on that. Like, I'm learning this. I'm learning it as it's coming through. You guys are so great. It was my ability to respond to the scenario that was causing me grief, or my inability to choose my response that was causing me grief. It was my lack of responsibility, my lack of an ability to consciously respond. It's my responsibility. My happiness, my responsibility. My trigger, my problem. My trigger, my problem. All right. Thanks for listening.